Welcome to Worthy Ones, the video series where I take all the newest issue 1 comics that I read for the current comic book week and deem them worthy or not worthy. Guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you love daily comic book content and you've been watching me for a while and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, guys, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and do it now. And before we get started, guys, I just gotta give a quick shout out to my good friend Frank Zanka, who is actually doing an interview with Jeremy Adams tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So if you guys are interested and you want to see what Jeremy Adams has to say, I'm going to leave you the link in my description box below. I'm sure it'll be a great interview. I was actually invited to do that interview, but unfortunately, I got to work. So the next best thing is to watch Frank interview Jeremy Adams. I'm sure it will be a great time. The first book we're going to be talking about today is Behemoth. This is issue 1. Now, the concept of the book was kind of interesting, as this big Godzilla kaiju beast is going to come eat people, and the people survive inside the belly of the beast, right? So this book is 32 pages for the price of $4, published by Dark Horse, written by Grant Spator and Ryan Engel, and the art is done by Jay Martin. So the artwork in this comic book, I wouldn't say it's like the best, but it's not bad either. Like, I like the character's facial expression. The main character's name is Sarah, who is struggling to make ends meet. She has this food truck that breaks down. She's got like the best food around, but she's still trying to get discovered. There's like this food truck wars that's going on, and she's inspired to win this contest to put her name on the map, right? And besides that, though, you don't really get to know so much about the character. Now, again, going back to the artwork in this book, it's pretty simplistic paneling and layouts. And the one thing that really shined in this comic was the beast itself when it comes to attack the city and it's like going to eat the people and destroy the buildings and all those different things like that. Again, it was a very simplistic type of point A to point B type of setup. You get to learn a little bit about the character. You get to see the monster terrorize the city. And it wasn't the best issue, but it definitely warranted a second try because, again, it's mainly setup. So definitely a worthy comic book. I think the issue with this comic is like, you got to kind of turn your brain off to it, because how does the city not prepare itself or ready for this big kaiju beast that's coming to shore? Like, you can't tell me nobody knew about this thing. They were just like all caught off guard. And then our character here is just like, oh, it's my food truck, I need to save it. The whole city is being engulfed by like tidal waves and tsunamis and all she cares about is a freaking food truck. I get it. It's your way of life, but can't you tell that the world is dying around you? So anyway, it's fun though. I am definitely going to give it a try going forward. At the end of the day, I'm probably going to give this one a C+. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the plot thickens here. The next book we're talking about today is What If Galactus Transformed Moon Knight. This is issue 1. 32 pages for the price of $4. This one is written by Alex Segoria, and the art is done by Scott Eaton. The artwork in this comic is actually good. Moon Knight seemed to be the coolest herald of Galactus in my eyes when I was reading this series so far. I love how you can kind of see like the stars through his body. I just love the bright and vibrant colors here, where in the previous two with Gambit and Hulk, those drawings just kind of looked a little bit generic here. So I did definitely feel that in this issue of the What If Galactus series, this was definitely an upgrade from previous issues. Now, let's talk about the story in this one. So the story here is you got Galactus, who's obviously transforming different characters from the Marvel Universe. And this time around, he tries to get Khonshu, okay? Khonshu's like, hell no, but what's going to happen is Galactus is going to destroy Earth. So Moon Knight comes, and using his different personalities and things like that, he decides, okay, listen, I will become your herald. Just spare Earth. Let's go find other, let's go find another planet. Just like kind of like every other freaking, Silver Surfer story or other Herald of Galactus, right? And so we get to see that he comes into conflict with himself. But the big thing about this one is he does meet up with previous Heralds of Galactus, which did make it a little bit more fun. And the previous Heralds, consisted of Frankie Ray and Terrax, Silver Surfer himself. So it's cool to see Silver Surfer in this type of book. So it was cool to see them confront, and then kind of Moon Knight coming to fruition saying, you know what, this is not going to work. And it was better, but I still don't think it was worthy. It's not worthy. It's not worthy for your money, guys, for the $4. There's so many other great comic books. If you have the extra disposable income, I mean, I know we're already spending money on comic books to begin with, but if you find enjoyment out of this and you want to read something that's just fun and it doesn't mean anything, then check this out. So at the end of the day, I'm just going to give this one an average C. It was a little bit better than the last one, but it's just not past that. You'll forget this by next week. So the next book we're talking about today is You Won't Feel a Thing. This is issue 1. I wasn't going to pick this book up because it is a distillery book. Their release schedule is always inconsistent. I'm always hesitant about buying these books. They're oversized. They're expensive. But my shop recommended to me and said, Mike, you're going to probably really like this book. So I gave him the benefit of doubt. I picked it up. It's 48 pages for the price of $9. The good thing about this book is it's written by Scott Snyder and the artist is done by Jock. And so when you look at the artwork in this book, I got to be careful because there is some explicit things going on in here. It's definitely decent. And when you read it, though, you really get immersed into the artwork and you feel kind of the pain of what this character is actually going through in the comic book, okay? So here we go. We're going to talk about this story right now, all right? Bear with me here. Okay, so, and I got this cover, which it's freaking beautiful, okay? Now, what this comic book is about here is about a former homicide detective, right? And he's in this assisted living institute. He has this brain tumor that he's suffering from. He could have maybe years, maybe months, right, to live. And you get to see him go through certain exercises to help him with his memory and things like that, right? You get to see flashbacks of his past life, of his girlfriend, his first time love, how he was going to propose to her, and all those things were just very interesting, okay? Now, the big thing about this comic is something happened to his girlfriend, and this particular murderer or serial killer has been attached to his life for the entire time. And the serial killer is named the Chatterman, okay? And it's creepy. You think like he like takes a tooth from its victims and he wears it around his mask, and it's just creepy. And this case has never been solved, okay? And it just made for a very interesting concept because the Chatterman makes his appearance once again for the first time in many, many years. Now, what makes this book interesting is the character that is suffering from dementia, the former homicide detective. It's like you almost don't know if things are real or not real, right? So this book is definitely worth it. I loved seeing all the different flashbacks and certain things that this character has gone through. Scott Snyder did a great job at developing this character, and you feel sorry for him because he's been through so much pain and suffering, whether it's his current family, his former girlfriend, just absolutely an amazing and well-written comic book. It has you hooked by the time you get to the end of it. Like I said, you're going to want to check out You Won't Feel a Thing, issue 1. This book gets a grade of an A+ for me. I can't wait for issue 2. I don't know when it's coming out, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. Rogue, the Savage Land, issue 1. I think this is kind of a highly anticipated comic. This is a 32-page comic for the price of $5. It's written by Tim Seeley, and the art is done by Zulema Scotto-Lavina. I thought the artwork was decent in this comic book. I said it in my haul. I thought that maybe Rogue did look a little thin, but it's to be maybe expected. She's on this island. She doesn't have her powers, right? So she's scavenging for food. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys ever saw Castaway from Tom Hanks, but it's kind of like that. And it's actually referenced in this comic. The Savage Land itself looked good. You get to see the nice volcanoes erupting, the foliage. There's dinosaurs. There's different types of creatures in there. It looks good. There's decent facial expressions in here to capture the emotion from Rogue, which I obviously really like. So that's really nice as well. Now, let's talk about the story here. So the story takes place, I think, after X-Men issue 247, where Carol Danvers is chasing her. She goes through this thing, and she winds up here on the Savage Land. Now, you don't have your powers and things like that, so, she's by herself, and she's lost. She's searching for help and whatnot, and I think there's some stuff going on about her being overly sexualized, maybe in this comic or whatever it is, or maybe she's degrading. There's nobody in here degrading herself, degrading her, except maybe she's just like, hey, listen, I got this super suit. It's not the best thing out here in the Savage Land, and this is what happened. So it's kind of like making fun of itself, But the big thing about this book in the beginning was I do like how she, is used to not being, being able to touch people, right, and feeling people, but she's not used to being alone. She's always had people around her, and this is the first time she's really experiencing that for the first time for a long time, for a long period of time, And so she kind of remembers the people around her and whatnot, which was cool. And then she winds up coming across Magneto in the comic book, and she found an ally here. And then we find out that Kazar, or is it Kazar? I never know how to say the dude's name, is being captured by primates. So I thought, it started off perfect. We wind up getting to see Magneto join, and then you wind up seeing the threat come in at the end. So perfect point A to point B issue. So I think this book is worthy. Yeah, absolutely. You'll be curious to see how the other characters are in play in this comic book and where it goes from here. Yeah, so at the end of the day, I don't think this was a perfect comic book. It's not gonna, sit there and go, oh my God, this is the best thing I have ever read, right? So, but it was good, and I'm gonna give it a solid B. Curious to hear your thoughts on this one, guys. Green Lantern Fractured Spectrum. This is issue 1. This book is 32 pages for the price of $4. It's written by Jeremy Adams, and the art is done by V. Ken Marion. The artwork is definitely a little bit different in the comic book. It's a little bit more, I would say, like manga or anime style. But it does work, okay? It just takes a little bit to get used to, right? There is some decent scenes in this comic book which make you chuckle, especially with Guy Gardner and like Kyle Rayner, about Guy kind of being smart in this issue, and they like have a drink with each other, which was kind of cool. You wind up getting to see the Sorrow lantern, which definitely looks different in my eyes compared to what we've been getting in previous issues. So again, the artwork is a little bit different here, and it just does take a while to get used to, but it's fine by the time you get to the end of it. Remember, this is a one-shot, and it will continue in the Green Lantern series, and then in the brand new Green Lantern Corps issue 1. So if you have not read Green Lantern up until this point, what this book is, it's a great jumping on point to give you the idea of what's happening in the Green Lantern mythos, right? This is basically a new status quo, a new reset button for all our lanterns. Everything that happened in the previous story arc is over. We wind up getting to see the Green Lantern battery be transferred from Earth because it was underground. It was like a secondary battery transferred back to Oa. And we wind up getting to see the whole planet back to normal again. Remember the robot from Absolute Power, the Jade Lantern character. He's the one that's going to be guarding the power battery, which is kind of cool. And you also get a sense of like, this is the only color of the spectrum that's actually working right now because all the other lanterns were destroyed. So we wind up seeing, you know, Jessica Cruz be in charge of OA and trying to get everyone back together and rally the troops and be the center around the spectrum and all these different things. So it's really, really cool. But then we wind up getting the adversary come in this comic, and that is the Sorrow Lantern, and we get everything set up going forward to take place in the Green Lantern comic and the Green Lantern Corps. This book is absolutely worth it. Like I said, if you're looking to jump on Jeremy Adams' run of Green Lantern, read this and then jump on, and I think you'll totally be fine. This is a great comic book, great storytelling here. I wasn't like the biggest fan of the artwork, so I can't give it a perfect score. I'm going to give it an A, but the storytelling here is really good, and please jump on if you have not read yet. Warning, there are going to be spoilers in this particular review, so I can discuss this comic book. If you have not read it yet, please read it and then finish the video at a later time. The next book we're going to talk about is the highly anticipated, is it worth your hype? The Ultimate Wolverine. This is issue 1. It's 32 pages for the price of $6. That's steep. I don't care how popular a comic is going to be or how much it's going to sell. I think Marvel ripped people off knowing that people were going to buy this book. 32 pages for $6. That's too much money. Come on, Marvel, you can do better than that. Writer here is Chris Condon, and the art is done by Alessandro Capicchio. Now, if you've been jonesing for some action, if you've been jonesing for some mutants, you're going to get that in this comic book, man. Capicchio's artwork is second to none in this comic book. It's dark, it's gritty, it's bloody, there's a lots of action. It's just so much fun to actually see this comic book. I mean, it is so good, right? Just all the different cast of characters in here is just awesome. And just to see freaking Wolverine go on this warpath in this comic is just, oh, that's kind of like what I was expecting in this comic, right? So let's talk about the story, like about this Winter Soldier / Wolverine like character. Obviously, he's kind of like created by the Russians. You see Colossus and Magic. Omega Red helped create him. You get to see him in the like room accepting the missions, and as he's going through his mission parameters here, he seems like he's starting to remember things that happened to him in the past. So right now, as he is this killing machine, right, he's starting to remember things, but he can't help but kill other characters that maybe you weren't expecting to see in this comic book. And I was like, oh, damn. So I'm not going to tell you those characters. I'm not sure if you saw it when I was showcasing the artwork and whatnot, but it was definitely a surprise, right? And obviously, if you knew this, there was an article that was released that we're going to get Kitty Pryde and Gambit in this series as well. So you know Kitty Pryde in 616 is a huge influence on Wolverine. It'll be curious to see what her influence is here in the 6160 universe. So yeah, guys, this book was absolutely worth it. Again, this is something that you probably been waiting for. 1, you've been waiting for the real mutants. 2, you've been waiting for some real action. And I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It will be real curious to see how Wolverine like changes, right? Will he be this killing machine for a long time, or will he become more like the Winter Soldier character that we knew from like Rick Remender and him transform a little bit? So I don't know, man, but this was good. This delivered on all levels, and I'm so curious to hear what you guys thought of it in the comments below. This one definitely gets an A+ for me. I read this book like twice or maybe 2.5 times. Like, I just wanted to make sure I got all the elements of it. But yeah, definitely check this out if you haven't yet. The only thing that holds it back, it's that freaking price, man. Just too much money. Like I said, Marvel, just freaking do better. Please, write more comics like this and lower your price, and you're going to get more people buying your product. Guys, don't forget about the new series, Indie Gems and Marvelverse DC. Indie Gems is on Sunday, Marvelverse DC is on Monday, and Indie Gems highlights the independent comic books that are not new number ones. Remember, all new number ones are right here on Worthy Ones. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and I'll always leave you more content right here for you to click on. And of course, guys, remember, support the local comic shops. Keep buying, keep collecting. Always remember, read your comics so we can have great comic conversation just like we had today. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.